Welcome back to our channel where we delve into the darkest corners of reality. Tonight, we venture into the realm of the unknown where every passing car could hold a secret and every stranger a potential nightmare. Today we bring you 3 disturbing true hitchhiking horror stories that will make you think twice before ever picking up a stranger or accepting a ride from one yourself. Stories of unsuspecting travelers who vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but unanswered questions and a chilling silence. We'll explore the dark side of human nature and the terrifying possibilities that await those who dare to tempt fate on the open road. So buckle up, turn down the lights, and prepare to be disturbed as we uncover the truth behind these bone-chilling tales. Our first story takes us to the desolate backroads of rural America, where the night is alive with the sound of crickets and the distant howl of coyotes. It was here, on a lonely stretch of highway, that a kind-hearted driver named Robert encountered a stranger who would forever haunt his dreams. Robert, a seasoned truck driver, was used to the solitude of the open road. He often saw hitchhikers, their thumbs extended in a silent plea for a ride, their faces etched with desperation or exhaustion. Most times he'd keep driving. Company policy, he'd remind himself. But on this particular night, something felt different. As he rounded a bend, his headlights illuminated a lone figure standing by the side of the road. It was a young man dressed in jeans and a faded t-shirt, his face obscured by the shadows of a worn baseball cap. Something about the man's stance, the way he seemed to melt into the darkness, sent a shiver down Robert's spine. He hesitated, his gut screaming at him to keep driving, but the memory of his own days hitchhiking as a young man, relying on the kindness of strangers, tugged at his conscience. With a sigh, Robert pulled over, the air brakes of his rig hissing in the stillness. "Hop in," Robert said, rolling down the passenger window. The young man didn't speak, but nodded curtly, his face still hidden beneath the brim of his cap. He slid into the passenger seat, bringing with him the scent of rain and something else Robert couldn't quite place, something vaguely unsettling. As they drove, Robert tried to make small talk, asking the man his name, where he was headed, but the stranger remained silent, staring straight ahead at the endless ribbon of asphalt unspooling before them. The only sound in the cab was the low hum of the engine and the rhythmic click-clack of the windshield wipers battling against a light drizzle. The silence, thick and heavy, began to gnaw at Robert's nerves. He stole glances at his passenger, trying to get a read on the man, but his face remained shrouded in shadow. Every time Robert tried to engage him in conversation, he was met with the same unnerving silence. Miles turned into hours, and the darkness outside the truck seemed to press in on them, amplifying the oppressive silence. Robert's unease grew with each passing mile. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. As they approached a small town, Robert decided to pull over for a bite to eat, hoping to break the tension. "I'm going to grab some coffee and a burger," he said, his voice tight. "You want something?" The stranger finally turned to face him, and for the first time, Robert saw his eyes. They were cold, empty, devoid of any emotion. A chill ran down Robert's spine, and he felt a knot of fear tighten in his stomach. "No," the man said, his voice a low, raspy whisper. "I'm not hungry." Robert hurried out of the truck, his heart pounding in his chest. Our next story takes us to the neon-lit streets of Los Angeles, where a young woman named Sarah would face a terrifying encounter with a predator hiding in plain sight. Sarah, a struggling actress new to the city, was on her way home from a late-night audition, her mind abuzz with dreams of stardom and the fear of making it in a city that could chew you up and spit you out. As she walked down the rain-slicked sidewalks, the city seemed to pulse around her, a cacophony of car horns, sirens, and distant music. Reaching into her purse, she realized with a sinking feeling that she was down to her last few dollars, not enough for a cab. Just then, as if by some cruel twist of fate, a sleek black car pulled up beside her. The driver, a man in a sharp suit, rolled down the window and smiled, his teeth gleaming in the dim light. "You look lost," he said, his voice smooth and reassuring. "Need a ride?" Sarah hesitated, her instincts screaming at her to decline, but the man's friendly demeanor and the promise of a safe ride home were hard to resist. She was tired, hungry, and desperate to get off the streets. "I actually live just a few blocks from here," she stammered, unsure of what to do. "Don't be silly," the man said, his smile widening. "It's late, and I wouldn't want you walking alone at this hour. Hop in, I insist." Against her better judgment, Sarah relented, rationalizing that it was just a short ride and the man seemed harmless enough. She slid into the luxurious leather interior, the scent of expensive cologne filling her nostrils. "Thank you," she said, trying to sound casual, but her voice trembled slightly. "I really appreciate this." As they drove, the man introduced himself as Mark, and Sarah found herself drawn into his easy conversation. He was charming, successful, and seemed genuinely interested in her dreams of becoming an actress. For a moment, Sarah allowed herself to relax, lulled into a false sense of security by Mark's charismatic facade. But as they veered off the main road and into a deserted industrial area, Sarah's gut screamed at her that something was wrong. The once comforting hum of the engine now sounded ominous, and the darkness outside the car seemed to press in on them, suffocating her with fear. "Where are we going?" she asked, her voice tight with apprehension. "This isn't the way to my apartment." Mark's demeanor changed instantly. His smile vanished, replaced by a chillingly cold expression. He glanced at her, his eyes glinting with something sinister. "You ask too many questions," he said, his voice low and menacing. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, her mind racing. She fumbled for the door handle, but it was locked. Panic surged through her as she realized the gravity of her situation. She was trapped. "Let me out of the car," she demanded, her voice trembling with fear. But Mark ignored her, accelerating deeper into the desolate industrial wasteland. Sarah knew she had to act fast. She reached into her purse, her fingers closing around her only weapon, a can of pepper spray. Our final story takes us to a winding stretch of highway that cuts through a dense, fog-shrouded forest. A road steeped in local legend and whispered tales of a spectral hitchhiker. For generations, stories have circulated about a mysterious figure, often described as a young woman in a white dress, who appears on the side of the road, her thumb extended in a silent plea for a ride. Those who heed her call, so the stories go, are doomed to meet a grisly end. One night, David, a young man, saw her on the roadside. He hesitated but pulled over, unable to leave her stranded. She was drenched, her thumb extended, a silent plea for help. David invited her in, and they drove in silence. As they approached the old cemetery, she whispered, "Turn here." David hesitated but complied. The cemetery loomed, and he turned to speak to her, but she was gone. The passenger seat was empty. Panic surged through him as he searched the cemetery grounds, but there was no sign of the mysterious hitchhiker. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. David stumbled back to his car, his mind reeling, his body trembling with fear. The open road, once a symbol of freedom and adventure, takes on a sinister edge when we consider the stories of those who vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but unanswered questions and a lingering sense of unease. Remember, not all who wander are lost, but some who hitchhike may never be found. These stories serve as chilling reminders that danger can lurk in the shadows, and not all those we encounter on our journeys are who they appear to be. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more spine-chilling stories. And be sure to share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had a strange or unsettling encounter with a hitchhiker? We'd love to hear your stories. Stay safe out there, and until next time, keep your doors locked and your eyes open.